Testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Hopefully we're getting decent sound today. I wonder if I should check it on my phone. Video is a little cloudy too. Do, 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 do. All right, testing, testing, testing. Hopefully the sound is good. According to Anzen, it looks good. All right, cool. Yeah, I just, this is the book I was going to talk about last week, but I had sound problems last week, so So this book, I was not prepared for. I read the book once. I don't think I'm ever going to read it again. That's Cormac McCarthy's The Road. It's just that brutal book. Seen the movie. I think the second time I watched it, it was just overwhelming how horrific that movie was. And the second time watching it was not much pleasanter. But this book, the weird thing about this book is I saw a promo for it like maybe a month ago. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like a year or two down the road. But apparently I saw the promo when it was being solicited. And this book's artwork, it's full color, but it looks black and white. Let me hold this back up a bit here. So you can get some more of these pages to show up better. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful inking for such a dark book. And I think the thing that's really hitting me about this is if you're familiar with, there's an issue of Hellblazer that Dave McKean drew. It has like every story I heard about it was like basically had to be done in a weekend because it was an emergency fill-in issue. And so the story was only like 17 pages instead of like 22, which was the standard for Vertigo at the time. And I think Dave McKean penciled, inked, and colored it over the course of a weekend. And he used a very, very limited flat palette like this, which is something I kind of wanted to do with the Viking project that's coming up. In fact, there's like one or two of the stories for the Witch book that would be done in this very limited, very subtle color that it's almost comes across as almost monochromatic. But the drawing in this is just so astounding. And I checked out his other work that I'm able to find online. Doesn't look like this. This is unique to him doing this book, this adaptation of the Cormac McCarthy book. It's astonishing. It's gobsmacking how it is. the levels of texture and everything. And I wonder how much there's so much splatter. I wonder how much of it's actually in the color or actually in the line art on the board. Because I would think that the black splatter is on the board, but there's gray and slightly tinted splatters everywhere, which makes me think he might have laid it down as a texture in the color layer. It's pretty good. And it's amazing like how little he's this always got to be careful when you say this. It's amazing how little he's actually drawing of what he's showing us. Like he's rendering the hell out of all these textures and everything to give us a sense of how beat up everything is. But he's really not drawing figures as much as shapes, which is generally what we should be doing anyway. Oh, the Colosseum. Wow, so good. Just good pages after good pages for this incredibly dark book. I can't recommend it enough. I think it was like $50, probably not even that much. $27 US, $34 Canadian, 19 pounds in the UK. So this book is an incredible bargain. And I think the reason why they can actually charge so little is because I think it was done for the European market, and then the English translation is just part of the deal. So it's not a case where it's like a big North American publisher paying someone as little as possible and trying to maximize their profit out of it. I could tell stories about being approached by mainstream, bookstore publishers and what they thought were like workable rates for pages. It's astounding. It's really astounding. But this book is just unfreaking believable. When I got it, I was like, it was honestly last week. Doing Batman would have been fun. I didn't end up drawing any Batman at all. But I really wanted to talk last segment on this. So. Storytelling is amazing, yeah. So-called. No, I haven't seen it yet. The last thing I got was that collection of all the things, and I haven't even opened that. And I already had all those books, so I'm a big McKean fan, but I'm terrible when it comes to staying up to date. But yeah, so this is the book I'm really recommending people pick up. It's just so beautifully done in every single level. Hard to grasp that someone like put so much work into something so dark and ended up with something so beautiful. So yeah. All right. So for this week, I was contemplating either picking up Batman, do Batman like I planned to do last week, but that was last week, and Batman Days is long gone now. I'm still posting some older Batman pieces though, so that's kind of good. But I think what I got to do is the sooner I get this piece done, it can become the landing page for Zoop for Tales from the Witch House. The idea is that we're going to have like a nice landing page on Zoop for the whole, most of the campaign, if not all the campaign. And so people can like sign up for the book that comes out next year. And by the end of October, Witchtober, there's going to be the placeholder for We Bring Only Death, which is the Viking book that will be coming out next spring. They'll actually coming out before the witch book. But since this is the working cover for Tales from the Witch House, it's essentially the placeholder, like I said. And yeah, okay, so you can see what I'm doing. I figured let's get this done, and it ends up being on theme for the very last weekend before Witchtober 2024 starts. Isn't that kind of awesome? We're already into another month of witches. Okay, so no, I clearly haven't seen Soul Call yet, so I'm gonna have to actually look it up right after stream then. So I was thinking it was something else, but it's clearly not. Um, oh, now I assume that a lot of people here aren't Canadian, but those who are, I I'm about as Canadian as they come, really. Um, as far as things that come are Canadian. Prime, yeah, up here in Canada, and I assume it's on Amazon in the U.S. too. They're streaming a docu series on the history of the Tragically Hip, who's arguably the greatest Canadian rock and roll band that's ever been. I mean, better than the Guess Who, right? I mean, I think there's a good chance a lot of people don't even know who the Guess Who are. So your mileage may vary, but yeah. So yeah, I saw that, got all emotional and choked up because growing up in Canada at a certain age with Tragically Hip, I mean, they are the soundtrack of your life in many ways, or at least in my life. And it was pretty good seeing the entire band, not just focusing on Gord or the other Gord, Gord Downey, who passed away from terminal brain cancer a few years ago. Also, I think a lot of Americans finally had the Tragically Hip hit their radar, despite the fact they had pretty good hits in Head by a Century. Yeah. Hey Matthew, how you doing? Um, yeah, so that was pretty. I mean, I got choked up a few times. There's this great little bit. They do a song about. I guess famous is. I don't want to say notorious because he was cleared, but there's a man who was found guilty of the rape and murder of a woman, and he and his mom swore he was innocent, and it was a miscarriage of justice that saw him imprisoned, and eventually he got freed. But the Tragically Hip did a song about him called Wheat Kings, and and so they interviewed David Milgaard about this, talking about a man who spent his entire life in prison for this crime he didn't do. And there's this one little bit where he talks about sometimes when it's too much for him, he listens to it when he feels he needs that support, and just the fact that the man that the song's written about feels so much the same way about the song that so many other people feel about it. It's pretty heartwarming. So tonight's stream is dedicated to the Tragically Hip. If you've not heard of them, you owe yourself that treat because they're just that good. I think one of the best parts about the documentary was it was very much a warts and all documentary. Tragically Hip, and I think to a greater extent, the Canadian media, who absolutely loved them, didn't really talk about them when they were going through rough spots. As the series really gets into, they had rough spots, and I think I think there were actually a few points come very close coming to breaking up, and they just never did because we as their fans lucked out. But wow, great series if you get a chance. Yeah, and Ahead by a Century is one of the hip songs. Um, Yeah, I have a hard time with that weird libertarian streak running through a lot of Russia's stuff. I mean, it's fine until you start listening to the lyrics, and you kind of go, ugh. I mean, as good as a drummer, I mean, Ayn Rand, geez. It's a great joke about, yeah, Chris Coleman, Leonard Cohen, yeah. There's a great joke about Ayn Rand where it's like there's, I mean, two books that radically affect teenagers, and it's Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead and J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. But one of them is a incredibly superficial fantasy with delusions about what good and evil are really like, and the other one has a bunch of orcs in it. So that's my favorite Ayn Rand joke. I've talked to someone who oh, you know what? No, I did see it. I saw something. Which one did they buy? Did they buy? I think they bought the Wonder Woman one. And it looked like a manga. Um, I don't know that resizing stuff like that works, but if it moves some more copies and doesn't do so in a way that hurts incentives and royalties for the creators, I'm all for it. My big worry was based on the price point and how it would affect retailers in terms of their ability to make a profit off the book selling the copies, and whether or not the price point breakdown on the cover price will ultimately have an effect on the royalty being paid out to all the creators on the books. Those are my big issues with the new editions. Should seem pretty mild, I guess. I've seen people who are like swearing it's the end of everything. I'm not a big fan of change for change's sake, which this could very well easily be. I mean, if they sell gangbusters at the cheaper price, and I believe I did say this, if they end up if retailers end up selling only the same amount of Watchmen or these other books that they've already been selling, and now they're selling it at like $5 cheaper per book, but nothing else increases its sales, then it's a loss. I mean, if now the new norm is now perennial graphic novels that sell like for 75% of the previous cover price. So now retailers are only making 75% of what they would have on the sale. Yeah, I'm oversimplifying it. I hope everyone understands that. But it is a concern. I mean, it's like if the things we know sell, or we're now selling at like 70%, 75% of what it previously was. You're taking the money out of the retailer's pocket. You're also taking it out of like there's no way you're not going to pay. You're going to be able to pay the full royalty on something that sells less. It's going to be based on cover price. So yeah, I want everything everyone tries to be a success, but I'm not entirely sure that this is the magic bullet. Gotta be careful. I want this chair to still turn into shadow, so away from the light. So I want that rotation of the curvature of the arm, or the wing, I should say. But I don't want to completely lose this cat in that shadow. Of course, I can always use white paint to pull it out a bit. Oh, something else. It came up with someone asked me to do a explicit crit for their work, which is not something I'm adverse to doing. But the fact of the matter is it does take a lot of time to do them properly. So what I've been working on is my notes towards a video series of where you are as an artist. So not so much a video series, teaching you how to draw, which are forthcoming all the time anyway. Because I did do some drawing videos before, and I want to redo them for YouTube, especially my stuff on hands. But I think there's a serious lack of videos on how to assess yourself as an artist, where you are in terms of your current capabilities. Like, are you a novice? Can you adequately, honestly say you can describe if there was a hierarchy in terms of artists' skills and capabilities, can you accurately describe where you're at? Are you a novice? Are you experienced? Are you, I wouldn't say a master, but are you have you mastered the fundamentals to the point where when you struggle, it's more as an aberration than an intrinsic part of how you do your work. Probably going to do some white paint over top of this to pull out the rim lights here. So lost some of the curvature here. But there's a lamp right here, so I can actually do some blowout there with some splatter, and that'll work nicely. Yeah, I was really worried about how small that type will be on a smaller edition. Especially with, I mean, I'm less worried about Watchmen because Dave Gibbons' font is so clear and open. But I'm thinking about like a lot of the fonts for like the Jim Lee stuff and the Wonder Woman stuff. Some of that stuff is just, holy crap, is that stuff busy and tiny. So I just want some straight lines for these books here. I should be using the one for this. Yeah, I really do I love the oversized editions so much. I'm picking up, I think in a week or two, I'm heading up to Kingston and grabbing my copy of Batman Year One finally. So excited for that. So yeah, good. That's true. That's absolutely true, Anza. I think what it takes to be a pro is significantly more than just a specific credit on a specific book. Yeah. So as soon as this is coloring, it's going to wand my flatter. So then we'll have this, and I think I told everyone already I'm going to be doing a riff on. Be my second time doing a riff on Frazetta's 12 Romans. Sorry, 7 Romans, his Epic Illustrated cover. I'm going to do that as the. Fell in love with the idea of doing that for the placeholder cover for what we bring on Late Death. Again, I might do a different cover for the actual book as we get closer to it, but right now, I like the idea of drawing my initial cycle of Viking warriors in that classic Frazetta lineup. Nice big cluster group on a bunch of mountainous rocks. I think that'll be a fun piece to do. In fact, I'm fiddling around with this first story I'm starting. I keep swapping out which one's the story I'm going to start with. So I'm starting with the one with the Greek myth about the spider. I'm pretty excited about that one. It was kind of like it was just there. It was like one of the things that I was using it to explain something else, and then I kind of went, it's actually kind of like a perfectly little weird story to really start this month off. See, I was going to do one that actually just had witches everywhere, and which is kind of obvious. But I thought going back to ancient Greece and getting into a little bit of the world building, which is something I keep telling people this is what this story is going to be about, is probably the best way to do it. Yep. Um, Basically, it's Ovid. As far as the story of Arachne, Ovid is the earliest recorded version of it. But with some of his contemporaries, we see references to the story elsewhere. But Ovid is the only version we have that we're working from today. There's another version of it. I haven't been able to discover it. So I'm running on the presupposition that any story written several hundred years after the events that may have occurred is written more from the point of view of the writer than it is from the people who were there. So Arachne has issues with her official story. And that's what my story is about. So I get to actually talk a little bit about, like, the Greek gods in relationship to witches. Uh, something little something about spiders, which are pretty important. In fact, since so much of what I'm doing owes is a lot to basically watching what my friend Joseph Schmolke does with his "We Don't Kill Spiders" and everything, and 7 Years in Darkness. In terms of, like, now I'm trying to get to the point where I'm largely just doing stuff I write and draw. Although I do want to write for other people too. Um, I want to get back to that because I haven't done that in a while. So I had to double check with Joseph to make sure I wasn't treading in the same ground with spiders that he was. Which was he was flattered by. I think I don't think he expected me to show him that level of consideration, but I think it's what we have to do. I mean, we're all creators. We're all working in the same. So many times we're like our friends are people who actually exist in the same genre fold as we do. But it costs nothing to double check with a friend to make sure you're not ripping off their ideas. So luckily, no, his spiders have nothing to do with Arachne. Yep, yep. So Arachne is telling her story to the reader, and she has a few things to say about Ovid and men in general. And I think it's a pretty good little yarn I got going there. It explains a lot without over explaining, I think, which is important. Yes, yes. Just catching up on what Anson just wrote. Yeah. So the recap of the story of Arachne everyone knows. Then I tell the story as Arachne wants it known, um, but then also becomes somewhat biographical about what it's like to be in a sort of relationship with a god or goddess. Um, and spiders and magic and spells and all that wonderful, wonderful, weird stuff that you got to come to witches to get. And the trick is to make it last the entire month. Part of the reason I had to swapping stories is previous story would have wrapped out around the 20th, and I was trying to figure out a way to make it fit better. And then I thought, well, what if I just do two stories? Like I do two shorter stories. And I kind of, yeah, then that kind of, to my mind, that kind of undermines the idea of like a story that lasts a whole month. So hopefully I can pull this off as I intend to. So the goal is the next few Sundays, all the how many Sundays in October? One, two, three, four Sundays. So 4 Sundays, I will inadvertently work on Witchtober strips there, and if there is something I can't, if it's too spoilery, I will probably just draw a witch, like an actual, like one of my usual witches. That way, I can still draw something, but not mess things up. I think that needs to be a bigger circle to imply a bigger book. Bigger still. There we go. Yeah. Too weirdly small. A little bit smaller. Keep banging my headphones up on the I think I'll use white paint to pull the it's too thick. Sometimes you gotta let these get a little beat up so you can leave dirty lines down. I don't want dirty lines because I want this to look like the scuffed up surface of some sort of book or something. I did it again. I'm gonna move this down a little bit closer in so you can see what I'm doing better, and I won't be bopping my head off of this all the time. with the sound finally being all right, I'm certainly not talking very much, am I? Anyone got any questions about stuff that's coming? So in case people missed it, I'm not doing the Zoop or crowdfunder for the new Witch book this year. I'm doing it next year. The timeline to do the book required a certain amount of advance promotion, and I didn't want to start promoting it until after the last book was being shipped out. And as I understand it, they might have all been sent. So now I think what they're doing is they're just validating which ones arrived, which ones haven't. If you're waiting for your copy and haven't arrived, you should probably reach out, Kevin, and that would be the best way to make sure that you're getting your copy if you paid for a copy. Soon after, they're going to make some available on their website. I believe it is just going to be the unsigned vanilla version of the book. I'm going to have some copies of the book on hand in my studio up here in Canada. And what I will be doing is I will be doing a little special sized card so I can actually do signed and remarked versions. They're different from the Zoop version, of course. The Zoop had a tipped in sheet, which was pretty damn awesome. And something to replicate for We Bring Only Death. I'm going to do a tipped in sign and remark sheet, which I'm pretty excited for as well. I can go dark here too. I should check that out. That's the Yannick Paquette, Grant Morrison piece, I believe. still got to do. All right, so I still got to do some rendering here in the body. Of course, I got to do the fishnet. Got to do the rendering in the chair here. And I got to do these church shadows over here. So it's getting there. It's almost done. Probably going to have to walk my colorist through it. My flatter, I should say. I'm my own colorist. I got Juan Costas. He could do the job himself, but it's like he's really good at doing my flat, so I like using him. I'll be at a loss when he decides he's too busy to do flats for me anymore, so that sucks. Oh, Chris Gustafson just passed away? Oh, shit. That really, really sucks. I mean, I really liked Chris Gustafson. In fact, as a kid, like when all my friends were like buying metal albums, I was like buying Chris Gustafson's greatest hits. It's a cool little double album with a great close-up photograph of Christopher on it. Some of this stuff is going to be color holds to push it back further. Jesus. Holy crap. Yeah, I knew about Dame Maggie. I mean, that was everywhere, but Chris must have just happened. My gosh. He was a terribly underrated actor, too. He was really good in a number of things. Excuse me. I could do like a little bit of a line on her knee here. Here's her knee. Oh my God, there's her knee. Top of her knee's done. There we go. Yeah, these books are like the things that kill me more than anything else. So I was like, I feel I gotta finish these things first. All right, 8:13. So I'll probably wrap up in around 15 minutes. I'll be really close to being done this. So first thing Tuesday morning will be the first Witchtober piece of 2024. Ooh, I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm excited. Anything that has to be censored, and there's going to be stuff that needs to be censored, will appear on my Patreon the same day. So hopefully it won't affect the readability of the story. But if you want to read it uncensored, my $1 a month Patreon will be the place to see it. Oh, also, apparently, the new Hellboy movie is not getting a North American release in the theaters. It's going straight to video, which is it's got to be unfortunate. I've been hearing mixed reviews. I mean, it's slowly wound down the budgetary carrying levels of movies to where you can finally get the creator to get what they want, but they're not going to have the resources to do it as well as they could otherwise. So that's the situation with the Hellboy movie. I'm still going to see it. In fact, I had a friend who wanted to send me a video of the movie, so as soon as that news broke, but I would still much rather see it as I'm hoping against hope that someplace will show it locally. All right. After 2 weeks missed because of audio issues, I feel like I lost a little bit of my patter ability to just keep talking nonstop, which could be a good thing, I guess. Thanks, Brendan. I think I'm just going to finish inking these books up here. And that'll be it for tonight. Probably finish inking the full thing once into my flatter tomorrow as well. part of how I break up foreground background. Still some comments. Part of the way I break up foreground background is I will use a thin white line around a main element, and that'll allow me to separate it from the background a bit, and this in a nice subtle way that allows me to get the colors away from it as well. All right, so this one's almost done. I just got to do the gloves, a little bit of rendering on the body, not much. I tend to like to leave the bodies alone for the rendering, and a little bit of more white paint cleanup here and there. And this piece is done. This is going to be the placeholder cover for Tales from the Witch House, which is the first story starting this Tuesday. All right, next week, it's going to be just witch stuff every week through month of October. And if I can't do it, if whatever I'm doing that week is too spoilery for stream, I will just draw a witch. Yay. You guys have a wonderful week. Hopefully I'll see all of you next week with whatever I'm drawing. Hopefully I'll see you online, social media, seeing me post all the segments of the stories. Have a good week. See you in 7. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much. Take care.